Hi, I'm Amelia and I'm 6 years old.
Hi, I'm Justin and I'm 9 years old.
Hi everyone, this is Mommy.
What's up, everyone? I'm Daddy.
And you're listening to
It's Movie Night.
And this week we watched
M3gan.
Universal and Blumhouse released this horror film in 2024. It's rated PG-13 and has a runtime of 1 hour and 42 minutes. Some other movie night picks the studio released around this time were Puss in Boots: The Last Wish and the Super Mario Bros. Movie.
This movie is about a toy designer named Gemma who designs a prototype android named M3gan for her niece to test out. However, the AI designed to protect her niece may have a glitch.
Some familiar faces are voices. We have Gemma, played by Allison Williams. She played Peter Pan in the live-action Peter Pan Broadway show, if you will, on NBC in 2014. She plays Kit Snicket in Netflix's A Series of Unfortunate Events series, but parents, you may recognize her as creepy Rose Armitage in the movie Get Out.
She's wonderful in it, though.
Oh, fantastic. But
She's awesome.
every time I see her, I just see her eating, like the M&Ms?
I can't remember what she's eating, but she's only eating one color. She's eating...
Yes.
No, it's not M&M's because she has milk and she's dipping it in the milk like a weird person would do. I can't remember what she's eating.
It's that scene, though. I see her doing,
Yeah.
creepily on her laptop.
Yes.
Cady is played by Violet McGraw. She plays young Yelena in Black Widow, but parents, you may recognize her as young Nell in Netflix's Haunting of Hill House series.
Never seen it. I heard good things.
I have too. It's just, there are certain shows I will watch and then some that I'm like, nah, I can't invest in that. David is played by Ronnie Chang. We just love him in this house. I don't know why. There's something about him. But he plays John in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. He is the voice of Fish in Kung Fu Panda 4. And parents, which I think you could watch this movie with your kids, he plays Eddie Chang in Crazy Rich Asians.
He's wonderful in that movie, too. Everything he's in.
It's just something about his persona and the way he talks.
Yeah. The director of this movie is Gerard Johnstone. He's directed one other movie, and it's Housebound, and it is a horror comedy. I did not watch the trailer, but I have heard good things about this movie, and I do want to watch it. The writers, since there wasn't a lot that we could talk about with the cast, one of the writers is Akilah Cooper. She did 20 episodes of the Grimm series, 4 episodes of the Luke Cage series, and then she also wrote Malignant and The Nun 2. And the other writer of this movie is James Wan. He's done some small movies and franchises.
You may have heard of him.
He wrote Saw and The Nun and Aquaman. He also directed Insidious, The Conjuring, and Furious 7. So every single one of those is a franchise. They have had sequels or...
some sort of success, for sure.
He's only behind one of the Fast and Furious movies, but... that's what broke him out into like coming out of horror and let's go do this action movie. And now let's do this other action movie, Aquaman. Yeah. So like, I applaud him for stepping out of his comfort zone to do those things.
For sure. Because so many times, especially in the realm of horror, I feel like once you become a horror director, that's it.
Yeah. So good for him.
Yeah.
First impressions of this movie came out in January of 2023, Mommy. Did we see it in theaters? How old were you the first time we watched it? And do you remember liking it?
We did not see this in theaters. We waited for it to be on Vudu and watched it at home. So I think I was still 31 because I think we watched it within the year that it came out for sure.
Yeah.
And I was surprised. I went into this movie thinking, because I'm not the biggest horror person to begin with certain things. Like I like things like Insidious. Like that's more my niche, if you will.
Okay.
Versus this, I was like, this is just going to be ridiculous.
You would prefer more supernatural elements. Okay.
Yes. Like this, I was going into being like, it's going to be funny. Like I'm going to have a good time watching it, but I didn't expect it to be as good as it was.
Yeah, I was, January 2023, so I was 22 probably by the
32,
time 32,
honey.
32, yes, by the time we watched this movie, and I did not like it at all. I didn't like it. I think it's just too silly. I think being into horror like I am a little more judgmental of horror films because I want something to be super scary, like a Hereditary. That's what I want, and I guess that's just my fault for going into a movie about an evil doll expecting to get a Hereditary. So bad on me, but yeah, I didn't like it. Regardless of how I like to judge my horror films, I was like, this movie's trash.
You are not a B horror person. Like this is our friend Kevin movie more than it is yours.
But I like Sleepaway Camp. So I mean, it's
a one-off thing though. It's not your genre versus like our friend Kevin. He's probably seen every B horror movie that you could think of.
Yeah.
Like that's just his thing. He loves it.
Yes. And then was this the first time for the girls?
This was the first time for the girls, and then a second watch for us.
Okay.
All right, Zosha, do we have a title drop?
Yes, many times. But the first time, Jenna says it.
Yes, Gemma says it first after showing their boss kind of what they've really been working on in the lab. And it's cool how they get her name because she says,
Look, I know she doesn't look like much now, but I promise if you just let us show you what M3gan is capable of, you will realize that this is what we've been working towards.
M3gan?
Model 3 generative android. M3gan, for short.
so it's almost like an abbreviation for the technical term.
M3gan.
Amelia, did we have any cats in M3gan?
No, just a bad dog.
Yep, one dog that, kind of had it coming.
Yeah. So evil dolls, mommy. We, throughout the years, decades, we've had Chucky, Annabelle. I don't know if you've ever seen Puppet Masters.
I have heard of it.
Okay. And then we also have Slappy from the Goosebumps movie and the show as well.
Yes.
And then The Boy. I don't know if you've ever seen The Boy with Lauren Cohen.
Yes.
Okay. And then now we have M3gan. Who do you think would not? I don't know. This is a multiple question here.
I was like, where are we going?
Who do you think would win in a fight with all of these dolls?
Ooh, I think I'm gonna go Chucky.
I think M3gan's way more advanced. She's just taller. I think she's got the edge on everybody.
She's more advanced, but Chucky's got the anger. He's got the
Okay.
true like evilness versus M3gan's just trying to protect Cady. So if no one's trying to hurt Cady, I don't think that M3gan's going to give it her all. Versus Chucky being anything that I could possibly mess up. Let's go.
What if Chucky's going after Cady?
If Chucky's going after Cady, then yeah, M3gan's taking him down.
Okay. Who is the creepiest out of any of these dolls?
Ooh, I think it's a tie for me personally between Slappy and Goosebumps because I am not about anything puppetry.
Ventriloquist dolls?
Absolutely not. And then Annabelle. Those dolls are scary too. I was never one of those little girls that was like, give me those painted porcelain dolls. I'm like, not today, Satan. Get that out of my room.
I'm not a fan of those. I did leave out one here, and it's Dead Silence, which is also a movie that James Wan directed, and it's about just a bunch of ventriloquist dolls.
I remember the movie cover.
There's too many of them. It kind of looks like Slappy.
Yeah,
really.
and I remember seeing the movie cover going, no, I'm not watching that.
Honestly, out of all of these, I think the Puppet Master dolls are pretty creepy. It's basically like Sid's room for dolls.
Okay.
And I think they were... I guess
they were like mix match together.
It's multiple though, so I guess that doesn't really count.
It's a loophole, Maddie.
Yeah. Okay, so I have to pick one. The creepiest. I'm going Brahms, the boy. I think he's pretty creepy. He would make me turn around and be like, "Nope, not going in that room."
Anything like that. Like if it's not just like a traditional Barbie doll or an American Girl doll, I'm out.
Yeah.
So some favorite scenes. I'm actually going to start with Zosha's because hers is towards the beginning of the film, and it's the montage of them perfecting M3gan to present her to David.
Okay.
And I really like the scene too because I have a favorite that ties into it because I like that this is the first time we see Cady and Gemma kind of bond over something when she's like, hey, what do you think of this? And she finds out that Cady thinks her robots are kind of cool, but, the perpetual pet is kind of like meh because she's like, hey, you're a kid. What do you think of this project? And then, they have this little conversation. I'm not going to go into great detail. And then they're like, you know what? Let's throw all this out the window and just go for it. We've been working on M3gan. Let's just see what we can do. And if we all get fired, we get fired and we get sued. But it's really cool. They show like the silicone being put over her to like cover up all her parts and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's really fun.
It's a cool scene.
It is.
In the same scene, like way early in the beginning of it, they also introduce and like foreshadow Bruce, which was Gemma's first android that she makes. Mm-hmm. And it's cool because she said that she made it in college as like a project or something along those lines.
Yes.
And Bruce doesn't have a face, so they put goggles on him, and he's controlled by like the Nintendo glove
Yeah.
is what it reminds me of. But it's super cool because it does come back later on, and I like it. It's cool.
It just furthers that, like, yes, we found something that we can bond over. You think my robot's cool.
Yes. One of my favorite scenes is the very beginning of this movie. You had mentioned the perpetual pet. In the very beginning of this movie, first thing you see is this commercial or like a TV commercial for the perpetual pet that you just said. And it's a Furby that poops, basically.
And it's scary, the teeth. Like, the girls were just laughing the moment it started playing because we were like, who designed this? It's not even cute. It's terrifying in a way.
It is. I mean, Furbies themselves are kind of creepy. I think it's the noises of Furbies that made them creepy.
And
like
the eyes.
Yeah,
man.
like if you heard that, you'd be like, nope.
The shifty eyes.
Yep, very shifty.
But they had the cute beaks versus, like,
They
these
did.
things have, like, no lips
Teeth.
and just teeth.
Yeah, but it is a cool scene. It's, the way that it starts off, it puts you at ease, especially if you're watching this with little kids of like, oh, okay, we're not starting with, most horror movies start with somebody departing in some way, and this veers away from that. I mean, it kind of does.
It's the next scene
You get
after
it,
it.
you get it in a scene or two after, but
Softens
yes.
the blow.
Yes.
So Amelia's favorite scene is when Cady and M3gan meet for the first time and Gemma pairs them together. And it's really cool because it's awkward at first, all of Gemma's pretty much job is watching this behind a one-way
It's kind of like a
window type
interrogation
thing. Yeah.
mirror.
Yes.
One-way, two-way mirror.
Two-way mirror.
One-way mirror.
Yeah.
I don't know how they work.
You guys know what we're talking about, okay?
They can see through the mirror.
but Cady can't see them. So they're watching this happen, and it's really cool because at first Katie's like, this is crazy. Like, this is weird. But then she's like, oh, do you want to color or something? And they go sit down at this table. And at first it looks like she's drawing nothing. And everyone's like, all right, like, what is this? Is she broken? And then M3gan purposefully spills the water, and it reveals this awesome detailed portrait of Cady. And even Amelia audibly was like, oh, that's so good. And it was like a really cool moment. And you could see Cady's eyes light up like, wow, I've never had a toy do that before. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then it just goes from there that they're like, yes, we got something. Aunt Gemma's not getting fired.
Yes, all the investors that are with Gemma on the other side of the mirror, they're like, whoa, this is crazy, because they were very
hesitant.
They were hesitant because they're like, how much is this going to cost to make for people to, how much are people going to have to spend as well to buy this android or this toy? And it basically boils down to, well, this is the last toy you're pretty much ever going to have to buy. So who cares how much it's going to be? Yeah,
because David at first is just like, hey, I need something that can compete with this basically other version of Perpetual Pet. We need to put something on a shelf for $50. Mm-hmm. And Gemma's like, nah, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, another scene that goes with like this viewing room or whatever is I think it's the second time they go into this viewing room, and it's when Cady is supposed to be showcasing things that M3gan is able to do, and instead of like not going with a script, but she's sad that morning, so M3gan goes and comforts her, and she saves a memory of Cady's mom. Like she says it, and then M3gan's able to play it back so she could hear it, because Cady's upset because she's like, I'm never going to hear my parents again. I'm going to forget my parents over the years. And M3gan's like, well, now you'll never forget. I'll always hold this with me.
Anytime you want to tell me something special about your parents, something funny or sad or anything at all, you just tell me, and I'll keep it safe. And we can listen to it whenever we want.
It's a super wow moment, too, again, for the investors behind the window, because they're like, wow, we didn't even think of something like that. And by the look on Gemma's face, neither did she.
Yes, because it's so cool, because M3gan does grow with Kate. Not grow because you're only seeing this. I would imagine this only takes place in maybe a month, I would guess.
Yeah, not very long, but it's cool because that scene kind of goes right into multiple scenes where people are watching M3gan play with Cady, and we see her advancing and reacting in real time and like learning Cady's patterns and just all of these things. And it's just so cool. Like, the AI is working. Like, it is really pairing with her and learning everything about this child.
Yeah, there's a scene where they talk about how, some kids will react different when their parents are telling them to do a chore or a task.
Studies indicate that a staggering 78% of a parent's time is spent dishing out the same basic instructions.
Oh my God, Cady, you have to flush the toilet. It is not that hard.
So we found someone else to pick up the slack.
Cady, flush the toilet. Great job.
And then you see her get a little more comfortable a few scenes later, and she's like,
Cady, seriously, flush the toilet.
and it's awesome because she is adapting. She's learning how Cady would react to these things and what she can say and what she can't say that would upset Cady.
Yes, and that's all happening while Gemma is doing this like voiceover of like what they're trying to make a commercial for M3gan be. And it's like, oh, did you know that parents like spend this much time just simply reminding their kids to do stuff?
Yeah.
Imagine if you could have all that time to yourself, and now you have this robot to remind your kids to brush their teeth, make their bed, flush the toilet, things like that. And it's a cool, I don't know if I want to call it a montage.
It's a montage.
It is a montage? Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun.
So with some favorite scenes, let's get into some positives. I'm going to bring up the pacing here. This movie moves. I never felt bored, out of an hour and 42 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes of that is probably going to be your credits. So out of an hour and 38 minutes, I was never bored. And I'm going to say that it's not just me. Young ages are going to think, oh, wow, they're not going to be bored either, which is good. That's an awesome positive.
It is, especially if you are trying to introduce your children to a scarier movie or something like that. It's good that it's keeping them engaged without terrifying them in a way. Mm-hmm. Not to say that there is not parts of this movie that are scary. We're going to get to that in parental guidance. But I did notice that at least both of our girls, 6 and 9, are fully watching this movie. I never saw them kind of drift away. They never started talking or getting antsy or bringing up, hey, when's sweets time? Like, you actually had to pause it to be like, all right, let's go get our sweets now.
Yeah.
And because normally we kind of judge a movie pacing off that. If we have a kid asking us, hey, is it time to stop to go get our snacks? Mm-hmm. You're not fully invested in this film.
Yeah. This one, they would have watched straight through if I would have never said anything.
Yeah.
It probably would have got towards the end of the movie and they would be like, when are we having the sweets?
Yeah, they would have been like, wait a minute, hold on. So earlier you named off a few evil dolls, so this genre isn't very original in that aspect. However, I do think the writers did a wonderful job of giving us something we haven't seen before because it is combining AI with a doll. It's not like Chucky where it's like some weird seance thing where, okay, now this doll has a spirit and it came to life. Like, this is something that, especially with the technology we have in 2025,
yeah.
I could believe this. I could see something like this happening. Maybe not to the extent that this goes. We're not there quite yet, but AI is a crazy thing.
I would like to think that the problem with M3gan, like the actual AI and everything in her, is that they were just pushing it way too fast.
Yes.
David was like, oh, we need this product now. It needs to get on the shelves now. Had they had gone through proper protocols and actually did testing, I think M3gan would have worked fine.
Yeah.
I think M3gan would have been a great product.
Yes, and it was like even Gemma says at one point that she's like, ooh, that's my bad. If I had more time, I would have put more like firewalls, if you will, in place.
Yeah.
But because she just designed her to keep self-learning, M3gan started making her own decisions of if my only existence, my number one goal is Cady's safety and health. That means at all costs. And Gemma didn't program like, hey, no, there are some lines we don't cross, M3gan. And that's, like you said, that's something that would have been caught if we had just gone through the protocols.
So David's the real villain of this movie.
At the end of the day, it's a good argument. But again, because of all that, we could see something like this actually happening versus, Annabelle and ventriloquist puppets coming after us.
Yeah, I do think it is an original idea.
Yeah.
For 2025. Another element is that, movies like Jaws and The Predator keep the creature hidden for a long time because they want your imagination to make what's happening scarier in your head. Mm-hmm. This movie does that, but I'm going to say, like, with the people who don't make it, with, like, air quotes right here. Hopefully, I don't want to say the word. But And it's a negative in a way as well. Now, it's negative because the imagination can get wild and you could picture things that are happening off screen. However, it's a positive because they don't show the aftermath or the thing being done to this person while it's happening. You get the splatter of blood, but you're not getting the actual gore in a way. So
you're not seeing the full act of what's happening.
Yeah. So like I said, negative if you've got a wild imagination with your kid, but positive because you're not seeing that happen live, I guess.
Yes, you're not getting as much nightmare fuel, if you will, for your kids if you're not seeing what, is actually happening.
Yeah.
The other thing is you had mentioned like you use your imagination to see what's scarier, like with Jaws and stuff. They show Megan in real time changing. And I like that better. I like that you're like, they held that frame just a second too long. You see just Megan's eyes shift. So I like the subtle ways that they show you right in front of you that, hold up, we're having a bit of a character change here for Megan. What's going to happen?
Yeah, there's a cool scene between Megan and Gemma, and it's when she asks if Megan had any part in somebody getting hurt, and you see Megan think about it, which is weird because she shouldn't be thinking, but she's thinking, and you're like, oh man.
Megan, turn off.
Well, hold on a second. I thought we were having a conversation. You say nothing is wrong, and yet all the moisture has drained from your eyes and mouth into other parts of your body. There's something you want to ask me, isn't there?
Megan, did you do something wrong?
Well, in order to answer that question, you need to define the parameters.
Did you hurt someone?
God, I hope not. Because if I did, we'd both be in a lot of trouble.
It's crazy. It's cool.
So with all of that, I like that this movie highlights the dangers of letting technology raise your child. And this goes right in with the message. The social worker and Tess say it to Gemma perfectly. When are you spending any time with Cady or doing anything for her at all if Megan's doing it all? You create little monsters that don't know how to correctly socialize with poor parental relationship. I've come across so many parents or kids that say they don't know things about their parents because they'd rather be left alone to do whatever they need to get done, whether it be work or house chores, and they just let their kid run wild on an iPad or an Xbox somewhere. Moral of the story, don't take the lazy way out, parents. Just because the technology is there doesn't mean it should be used that much. Tech is not a substitute for human interaction and care. A second message, guys, stop trying to make advanced AI. Are we learning nothing from Terminator and other movies like this? Humans are going to be rendered useless. It's a lot of jobs being eliminated and then extinct at some point if we keep going this way.
This is where we differ. I'm very much a person of the future that I know that AI needs to stay out of some areas, but I know that in some areas AI definitely helps us out. And I know this can be a long conversation, so I'm just going to leave it at that. I do like AI.
It's a thing of knowing its place. And that's my argument is, yeah, I agree with you that there are some places where AI is very helpful. But when it gets to a point that it's taking over a job as a parent or it's taking jobs away from people who could do the same job and things like that, like now we're coming across some problems. So it's just knowing AI's place.
So you wouldn't want an AI robot?
No.
But you would want an AI robot that can cook dinner so that way you have more time to be with the family.
I don't know about cooking dinner. I would only want one that would clean. If I had one that would clean and that was it, that was its only function. It was more so a robot versus AI. It did not think for itself. It wasn't a butler. It wasn't anything like that was its sole job was to just clean. That's fine. Cooking, I could see some people wanting cooking taken away. Is it a pain to make dinner some nights? Of course it is. But that's a skill that I'm using. I can say that I made that. I get a satisfaction out of that. And I feel like if you just have all of these things taking that away, at the end of the day, what are you doing? What could you possibly be doing all day if you have all these different devices doing it for you?
Hobbies, maybe reading more books and broadening your mind. There's a lot of things that go to it. But even the cleaning robot, say you got a cleaning robot and they think that something is trash that you wouldn't normally think is trash. Something like a receipt that you have from an event that you went to and it just reminds you of somebody and you want to keep it. They might think it's trash and then throw it away. So maybe an AI robot for cleaning wouldn't be great.
No.
I mean, this is playing against me because I encourage the AI, but if it had an AI and it wasn't just a robot, you'd be able to say like, hey, tidy things, don't throw things away, just dust. Like, this is an element that you'd be able to adjust if it was an AI.
But then you make it mad, and that's it. There goes all your computer files, Maddie. Oh no, I don't know what happened. I just deleted everything you downloaded.
Yeah, it'd be crazy. But yeah, I see what you're saying here. There is a lot to be. There needs to be more I's dotted and T's crossed before we get into some advanced AI for our future. But it is our future, whether we like it or not. But let's get into some negatives now. Cady's tantrums in this movie, I get it. She lost her parents, and Gemma isn't a great parental figure because she wasn't prepared to take on a kid. But I think it's 100% the original parents' fault. They had to have let Cady,
act this way
at some point, or maybe they acted this way towards each other, so Cady was witnessing it and thought, oh, okay, well, this is normal. So when she does these things to Gemma, like yells at her and has these tantrums and then
straight up slaps her.
Yeah, when that happens, you're like, ooh. I think even kids, when they're watching this movie,
both our kids were like, what is her problem?
But it's a negative because for some kids to watch this and see that scene, they might say, oh, I could do that? I didn't know I could do that. I mean, she gets, because there's no real reprimandation.
No, there's no punishment for the way she's acting. Like, Gemma swoops in and tries to, like, solve it right away. And then Cady tries to gaslight her into getting Megan back when she's like, oh, you just made her real good, Aunt Gemma.
Yeah,
like that part.
I don't act this way when Megan's around.
She calms me down.
Yeah, so that's why you need to give her back to me so I don't act this way. I'm like, whoa.
And when she does that, like, don't get me wrong, Gemma still thinks about it and doesn't go to give Megan back to her. But it still shows kids like, hey, this is how you gaslight your parents. And that's like not okay. That's not okay.
It's typically like parents saying, hey, you're not going to get your ice cream if you don't do this, which is gaslighting to some degree.
To an degree, but it's in a positive way. It's not like, yeah, we're getting what we want, but it's for the benefit of the child. Because normally it's us being like, hey, make sure you eat your vegetables, make sure you brush your teeth and learn basic responsibility of cleaning your stuff up, like,
yeah.
Pros and cons.
It's like Bandit says in Bluey. Like, I ask you to take a bath because I don't want you to stink. So
I don't want you to be the smelly kid.
Yeah, so I'm doing it for your own good versus this girl being like, well, I won't throw tantrums and smack you anymore
if you give me my toy
Gemma.
back.
Yeah, like, big problem. I did not like that at all.
I thought it was way too out of character for Cady too, because most of the movie she did just lose her parents, but even when she was in the car with her parents at the beginning of the movie, she is quiet. She's not like a loud, rambunctious kid. Like I don't get those vibes from her. So I thought it was way out of character too.
I can see that for sure.
And if anything, enhancing my message, if you will, that look what the technology turns your kids into monsters, man.
Yeah.
It's like a little addiction.
It for sure does. Or for sure could.
So with that scene we just talked about, I can't tell sometimes if this movie is teaching kids a lesson or not on technology, or if it's just highlighting that, you know what, having a Megan would still be cool. Like, some kids in the aspect of not having great parents might long for a Megan because they are lonely, and having a robot wouldn't make them feel so alone at home and have an actual caretaker. But I could just see this just as easily being taken the wrong way, if that makes sense. In a way, like, it could glorify technology for some kids versus showing the dangers of it.
Yeah, I kind of get that. I think the issue is that most kids are just going to see it as being cool. I don't think unless you're seeing this doll become evil, then they would be like, oh, no, I don't like that. I don't want that. But they would still be like, I think our girls, we'll ask them later on, we'll be like, hey, would you want a Megan, a nice Megan?
They don't want one that's taken out Auntie Betty or any other aunts, though.
No, definitely not. But I think that it is a lot harder for kids, and I get that that would be a negative.
It's hard for them to find that lesson versus adults.
For sure. And then I know that you had said earlier that, this movie kind of gives you something original, even though it's an evil doll that we've seen in that genre before, but it's very predictable. You see everything coming a mile away. There's a lot of foreshadowing, especially like with the dog, with Bruce. Like, there's just foreshadowing everywhere.
It lingers on the scenes too long to warn you, hey, something's coming.
You see this bad kid reacting to, being
a bully, a full-blown bully.
Being a big bully. So you're like, okay, I know where this is going, which means it's not really scary as a grown-up, especially a seasoned horror watcher. You know everything that's coming. Maybe a kid who's watching it for the first time wouldn't expect certain things to happen, but as an adult who, this is geared towards adults. This isn't geared for kids to be watching. So when you're going in this as an adult, you're like, yeah, you saw it all coming. So what's the point? I don't know. Just kind of a negative for me.
And I can agree with that, because there was even one scene that I even heard like Zosha kind of under her breath make a noise, like when that bully, who is a blatant kid that's a menace to society, Brandon, just gotta go, guys. When you get to that point, she even says like, like he's gonna get his.
Yeah.
Like even Zosha knows it's coming. And this is for the most part, like they've seen Quiet Place and Life, and those are more suspenseful
Fright
thriller
Night, stuff like
movies.
that, yeah.
But I'd say that this is their first definite like horror genre.
I wanted to go slasher, and that's why I brought this up. And it was a surprise to me that it was actually PG-13. I was like, oh, I thought this was going to be rated R, because most slasher horror films are rated R, but this movie, it's unique.
So it was supposed to be rated R. While I was doing some research for it, it was originally going to be released as rated R, but possibly due to the popularity of all the trailers on TikTok and stuff, they kind of changed courses and made it PG-13 so that a wider audience could go see this.
Yes.
Like they saw the M3gan doll and the younger generation kind of hooked onto it. So they were like, oh, okay, maybe we got something here.
Yeah, they were able to have high schoolers come and watch this movie. So yeah.
The last thing that I want to bring up is that it is just ridiculously cheesy at times for me. Like there's a part where M3gan is going after David and she's dancing in the hallway while she's doing it. And it's just ridiculous. I absolutely hated it.
I saw that you had that problem, and I took it out of one of my favorite scenes because I loved it. I thought it was so funny that she's doing this dance. And I think the argument here is that yes, M3gan's advanced and she is an AI and she's always learning, but she's also paired to a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
So
at her heart,
she's doing things that I don't know. It's not out of place, but it is out of place. Is it cheesy? Absolutely. I see what you're saying here. It is a negative, but I still ate it up. I loved that scene.
Oh, man, I cringed when she was singing Titanium, too. And I get it. I know these are things that, like, 10-year-olds would either do in real life or in their head, when they're thinking of cool things, like Dear Diary. Like, I get it. But
as a lullaby, it's funny.
It completely takes me out of it. And there goes me taking this seriously in the aspect of being afraid. Now I'm going to scoff. Like, I get about not taking this movie seriously because it's still, at the end of the day, a toy movie. Yeah. But it did it too much for me that now I'm like, oh my God.
I get your problems here. But yeah, you're going into this movie knowing that you're watching a movie about an evil AI toy doll named M3gan. So you kind of got to put off some stuff.
Yes.
So I get it though.
So it's more an opinion based thing, but I think a lot of people will agree with that part that you're like, it's too much cheese for me.
Yeah. And what other negatives or positives come with parental guidance, Mommy?
So for language, I honestly think it's mild because the S word is there a few times and then there's only one F-bomb that is said by a kid. But that's it, which to me isn't bad at all because it's not like you're getting all these different words. Mm-hmm. It's just the two. The PG-13 rating, I think, comes more so from the violence. Right off the bat, we see this family get into a car accident and learn of Cady's parents passing. Cady gets bitten by the neighbor's dog and some blood is shown. Like, again, this dog got to go.
That dog also attacks M3gan. Like, if that would have been a kid and not M3gan, it would have been bad.
It would have been completely mangled. We would have been in the ER immediately. The majority of the violence, though, of course, comes from Megan. She rips an ear off. She's spraying a person with a pressure washer of chemicals. There's choking, explosions, stabbing people, and the ultimate demise of just multiple characters. However, most of the bloodshed is shown as off-screen splatter. The unrated version, though, like you had mentioned earlier, it will expose more, and it like zooms in on the ripped off ear and like little stuff like that. So pay attention, parents, on which version that you are watching, because you're going to get a little bit more gore if you go unrated.
That ripped off ear, though, is another cheesy part. The ear does not stretch that far before it detaches from the body.
I wouldn't think so, honestly.
It looks like a Stretch Armstrong.
It does. It looks like silly putty. But at the same time, I've also never tried to rip someone's ear off. I don't think it would stretch that far, though. It is a little...
It's like a foot away from his head.
It's a little sus.
It's definitely a cheesy element.
Scary, it's a horror movie, so duh, all the violence with Megan can be considered scary, as well as the anticipation of some scenes. It makes you think that there are a bunch of jump scares coming, but there is actually only one. Mm-hmm. Grown-up stuff, there's only one scene of alcohol use, and it's just Gemma getting basically a congratulatory glass of scotch from one of her bosses. Otherwise, it's majority the grief of Cady that can be hard for kids to imagine. It's rare to lose both parents that young if you're not in a Disney movie, and then to go live with an aunt you barely know, that's heavy for even adults to imagine going through, either for themselves or their own children. Then we have the struggles Gemma faces between her promise to her sister to take care of Cady, and her duty to her career is also a very adult complex. Cry factor, it is sad when we hear Cady crying at night, all alone after her parents pass, but I didn't think that was enough to bring me to tears. The part that surprisingly put tears in my eyes is when Megan comforts Cady by saving that memory of her mom, so she never forgets them like she fears that she will. Like, that was a very touching moment.
It was a cute scene.
Yeah.
And as for an age recommendation, you know your kids better than we do. We're just here to give our opinions. Blood splatter, language, some comedy, and some predictable moments that might not make it as scary as you'd think means that some little kids might be able to watch this. I like to push horror and thrillers in this house because I don't want our girls to be scared when they go to sleepovers and they watch these types of movies with their friends. I also think there's an element of education in some of these movies of, no, don't do that when you watch these movies, and if you tie that into real life, you wouldn't do those things. Is it scary the first time you show the littles? Probably. But it'll open new doors, I think. So for that, I'm going to say 9 and up can watch this movie. So Rotten Tomato critics have this movie certified fresh at 93%.
That's crazy.
Which is a thumbs up. 93. Wow. Audiences have it a little bit lower. Still a thumbs up, though, at 78%. Let's see how it holds up in our house. Zosha, do you give M3gan, or Megan, a thumbs up, a thumbs middle, or a thumbs down?
Thumbs middle.
Okay, why a thumbs middle?
Because it was kind of scary and it did its job.
Okay. Do you think that it'll be just as scary a second time if you watch it?
I think I won't be as scared.
Okay. Now 2 more questions. Would you want a Megan?
No.
No, you would not want a Megan. Okay. Do you want to see the sequel that's coming out? Megan 2.0?
Yes.
Okay. Amelia, what do you give this movie?
Thumbs middle.
A thumbs middle. Why a thumbs middle?
Because there's a lot of violence, but I like the acting and all the characters.
Okay. Now, same for you. Do you think it would be scary if you watch it again, or do you think it's just okay?
It would be a tiny bit scary because I think I would have a tiny bit jump scares.
Okay. Now, would you want a Megan?
Yes, but I would want it to be nicer and it won't kill people.
I think that's what we'd all would want.
That's fair.
Yeah. And then would you want to see the next movie that's coming out?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Mommy, what are you giving this movie?
So for me, in my heart, I want to kind of give it a thumbs down because this is not a movie that I'm just going to keep putting on again, but giving the aspect of it being PG-13 and a good introduction into the scarier side of life, I'm going to go with thumbs middle because it is a movie that everybody can watch together. So if you have someone like, our daddy who likes horror movies, but the types of horror movies he likes to watch, there is no way our children are ready for that.
Yeah.
I don't even like to watch some of those movies. So it's a movie that everybody can sit down and watch together. I don't think you're going to get to the point where you have nightmares for days on end, because at the end of the day, it is a toy. It is easy to explain to your children. There's laughable moments in it. It's all around not a terrible movie. So I'll keep it thumbs middle. But
and would you want a Megan?
No.
No Megan.
No, I'm good.
Do you want to see the sequel?
Yeah, I'll watch it.
Okay.
I'll bite. What about you, Daddy?
You know, I was fully ready to go thumbs down on this movie.
Me too.
But the way that you just worded that of, you know what, we could all watch a scary movie together.
I got to your core.
You got my heart. Yeah, I'm gonna go thumbs middle on this.
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Happy to change your mind.
Yes.
I feel like I already know the answer to this question, but would you want a Megan?
I would absolutely want a Megan. I think that it would be awesome.
Would you keep yours a female, or would you turn yours into like a Matt?
No, I
Should we have another Matt in this house? How about Mel? Would you want a Mel?
No, definitely wouldn't want a Mel. I keep it Megan.
Yeah.
I think it's better that it's a child that the kids would also be able to use. You know fully well that you would be utilizing Megan as well if I had a Megan. So you'd be like, hey, Megan, just pick this up. Just tidy up the toys in the basement. You'd fully be using a Megan.
No, if you or I had one, it would have to be an adult version, because that just sounds like child labor laws bossing around a what looks like an 11-year-old child to be like, hey, go make our bed.
Maybe.
There's a line there. And would you like to see Megan 2.0?
I think Megan 2.0 looks fantastic. I saw the trailer for this, and I think I showed you right away, and then I showed the girls, and I was like, look at this movie. Doesn't this look awesome?
My mom.
Yeah, your mom too. Like I said, I was fully ready for this to be a thumbs down movie. And when I saw this trailer for Megan 2.0, I was like, oh my gosh, this looks awesome. It reminds me of Terminator in a way, where it's evil in the first movie, and now in the second one,
It's trying to redeem it.
Yeah.
And I like that
cool.
redemption quality.
I'm totally cool with that. So I can't wait. It comes out in June, I think. So we might have to be buying tickets for that movie.
I agree, because I like that it's redemption, because it's not like Megan was set out to be evil. She wasn't. She
Megan
was just trying to defend Cady.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what they do with that in this next movie.
Yeah, she was just doing what she was programmed to do. Protecting Megan.
Protect and serve to Cady.
Yep. Oh yeah, protecting Cady. And if any of you would like to add Megan or M3gan to your movie night list, it is currently streaming on Stars or available to rent or buy across platforms.
And after watching, let us know if you give it thumbs up, thumbs middle, or thumbs down.
And when you want to let us know what you think about the movie, please find us on social media. We like to post pictures of us on our movie nights, letting you know what snacks and sweets we're eating. It's a fun place to hang out.
Our Facebook is It's Movie Night, and our Instagram is It's Movie Night Pod. Thank you for listening. Join us next week for another movie night. Bye.